guys, it's Jessii Vee and welcome to the new August background. I'm so excited about it. I don't know if you can tell, you probably can, but it's like an enchanted forest behind me. I'll like lean down so you can see. I wish you could see the whole thing because the very bottom of the background, there's like petals all over the forest floor. Can I lift it? Can I lift it? See the petals? Petals? It's really hard to show you. But yeah, there's like sparkles and it's so magical. And because I have a new background, that means I'm going to be announcing the winner of the last one. Let me get it from my phone. So the winner is Groovy Gracie 5. That is her Instagram. So congratulations, girl. I have DM'd you. And if you guys would like to win this magical forest background behind me, all you have to do is be subscribed to my channel. So my Jessii Vee channel right here. Turn on your notification bell and then head on over to my other channel called Vee Vlogs. Go subscribe there. The link is down below in the description. Turn on your bell on that channel and that's all you have to do this time to be entered into this backdrop giveaway. I know, less steps. Are you impressed? Anyways though, as you could tell by the title of today's video, we are going to be talking about a secret Disney movie that not a lot of people know about. The reason why Disney has tried to keep it secret all these years is because when they first put it out into theaters, it got a lot of backlash. And the reason why is because it was just too scary for kids and people were like, whoa Disney, you're supposed to be like happy and colorful and la-di-da. They couldn't believe they put out such a horror type film for kids. The secret film we're gonna be talking about today is, drumroll, The Black Cauldron. Now I have mentioned this movie very briefly on my channel before. I think about 2 years ago, my sister and I did a video called Movies That Scared Us as Kids, and I talked about Black Cauldron for like 30 seconds, but there's so much more to talk about when it comes to this movie. And once we're done talking about The Black Cauldron, we're gonna talk about some other Disney movies that didn't sit too well with kids and parents. Disney movies that were just too scary to be called Disney movies. I also love that we're back with this movie series. I haven't done an episode in this series in so long. So The Black Cauldron came out in 1985, and what's so crazy about when this movie came out is that it was the first Disney movie ever to be rated PG. Every other Disney movie prior to Black Cauldron was always rated G so that every single person, no matter what age you are, you could watch it. So the fact that this was their first like parental guidance film, people were like, whoa Disney, what are you doing? Now what's the most disturbing part is that they had to remove so many scenes from this film before it could be released out into the public. There were just too many scenes that were too scary, too violent, too disturbing. So when Disney first wanted to put this movie out to theater, it was rated R. A Disney movie rated R. Could you imagine that? So in order to get it down to a minimum of PG, they had to remove, I think it was a total of like 15 minutes from the film. So like already, they were off to a bad start. It was also the first Disney movie ever to not have any songs in it whatsoever. Every other Disney movie up to that point was basically a musical. There was a song like every 5 minutes. It was super happy. But when Black Cauldron came out, there were no musical numbers at all. And not only that, but there were no songs in the movie whatsoever. Just creepy instrumental background music. So that also shocked people about Disney when this movie came out. Because this movie got so much backlash, Disney has basically tried to hide it from history. They never talk about it anymore. They never show these characters in any other movies or merchandise. These characters aren't at Walt Disney World. You can't find this movie on Disney websites. Basically, Disney tries to hide this movie from the world because of how horrible it did. It's like their secret movie, and I totally believe that because whenever I bring up Black Cauldron to like anybody, any of my friends, just anybody, they always say, wait, what movie? I've never heard of that movie. I almost feel like I was the only one who watched it as a kid because I don't know anybody else aside from my sister who ever watched Black Cauldron. I want you guys to comment down below right now. Up until this point, had you ever heard of Black Cauldron? Have you watched it before? Tell me what your experience is with Black Cauldron. Here is the synopsis of the movie for those of you who have never seen it. It says, a young boy and a bunch of misfit friends embark on a quest to find a dark magic item of ultimate power before a diabolical tyrant can. So basically it's this group of friends that are looking for the Black Cauldron. Now the villain in this movie is called the Horned King. So, he's supposed to be the scariest Disney villain that has ever existed, even up until now. Millions of children couldn't sleep after watching this movie and seeing him. The movie had to be a higher rating because of him, like I said before. Overall, he's just so evil, and not even at a Disney, like, kinda evil, like Ursula level. He is like evil. I didn't even know it was a Disney movie until recently. I always thought it was like that scary movie from my childhood, but it was Disney. Basically, what happened was, when I was a kid, probably around 7 or 8 years old, my grandma decided to go to a garage sale with us, and it was at this like really old house. It was kind of an eerie place to have a garage sale, to be honest, and they had this table full of old VHS tapes, and the one that caught my grandma's eye right away was the Black Cauldron. It was just like sitting on this table untouched. It was like it was waiting for us to go and get it. We had no idea what it was about. We had never heard of it before, but my grandma thought that it looked like, from the cover, a cute little fantasy Disney movie for us to watch. So she bought it, and she bought it for like 50 cents, and these people at the house really wanted to get rid of it, like super fast. So if that's not a red flag already. So we brought the movie home. It was like midday, so my grandma was making us lunch, and she put the movie on for us while she was making our food. And my sister at the time was like 5 or 6 years old. She was really, really young. We were sitting on the couch and we were just watching this movie, and the more the movie went on, the more we were like pulling the covers, like we had a little blanket on us. We were like pulling the blanket in front of our faces, because up until that point of my life and my childhood, I had never actually been that terrified watching something before. It was like my first experience at watching some sort of like horror movie as a kid. And my grandma was sort of watching it while she was preparing food, and when the movie was over, she was like, guys, I think we need to throw this movie out. She felt so uncomfortable and disturbed, and almost felt bad that she had us watch the movie because of our reaction afterwards. So she like threw it out right away. I remember for the next month I had nightmares constantly, couldn't sleep, always pictured the Horned King like standing behind my door in my room. It was terrifying. Obviously, as an adult now, when you get older, when you're a teenager or an adult, it's not gonna be as scary to you. Obviously, it's more scary when you are a child. But like I said, Disney got a lot of backlash for this movie because a lot of parents felt the same way that my grandma did about having their kids watch it. They just felt disturbed and that it was too evil for their kids. It says it was one of the greatest box office duds of 1985. So out of all the movies that came out in 1985, this was the one that had the most backlash and did the worst. Disney actually had to pull the film from theaters. It was supposed to be in theaters for a few months. It was out for like a week, and Disney was like, yeah, let's take that back. It's now known as the film that Disney is trying to hide. And what's interesting is that right after the Black Cauldron came out, it says that Disney wanted to restore their brand with friendly movies. So they kind of wanted to fix their reputation. So every movie that came out after that one was like super happy, super fun and friendly. For example, The Little Mermaid came out. So Disney was trying to like make us forget by throwing all kinds of happy films at us. So let's just briefly talk about the characters in this film before we move on to some other really scary Disney films. The first is the Horned King, and he is the main antagonist of this movie. His main goal was to find the Black Cauldron and use its power to unleash an army of immortal warriors called the Cauldronborn. And the way he died at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, not that you guys want to go see it, but the way he died was so disturbing I can't even like mention it on this channel, but he like fell apart, let's just say. In a bad way. The next character is Taran. He is a young pig keeper. As he grew up, he became restless and longed for adventure beyond the borders of his town. So he was basically a pig keeper that just wanted more to his life, which is like the plot of a lot of movies. You have a boring life and you seek adventure. The next character is Henwen, which is the magical pet pig of Taran. She has the ability to tell the future and is the reason the Horned King wants to control her. So she's like a magical pig that just knows all. It's a psychic pig. And obviously anything that's magical, a villain automatically wants. The next character is Princess Elowin. Elonwe? I can't remember how to pronounce her name, I'm so sorry. Taran meets her along the way and she becomes his love interest. She appears to have magical capabilities, which is what saves her and her friends from the Horned King's prison. And what's interesting is that she is a princess in the film, but she never became an official Disney princess. And people were saying that it's because if she became an official Disney princess, she would have to be at all kinds of Disney merch, she would have to be at Walt Disney World, she would have to just be on all kinds of posters, and that would bring people's attention back to the movie The Black Cauldron. So Disney kind of just forgot that she was a princess and they were like, yeah, we don't need her in the official list, no. Then we have Gurgi. He is portrayed as a gopher wood troll creature. His character was always confusing. Let's move on. Next is Creeper. He is a slave to the Horned King. He is loyal to him, but is also afraid of him due to his mistreatment towards him. So yeah, the Horned King, who is in my driveway? Why are there always people in my driveway? I don't understand. Like, is it like a free parking lot or something? What are they doing? They have like a clipboard and they're looking at my house taking notes. Hello? Yeah, the Horned King has so many creepy little slaves and he treats them absolutely horrible, and there were a lot of deleted scenes they had to take out to make the movie PG where the Horned King is actually physically torturing the slaves, and it shows a lot of violence that I will not talk about on this channel. And lastly, we have Ordu, Orwin, and Orgok, and they're also known as the Witches of Morva. In the film, when the group of friends are going to look for the Black Cauldron, they eventually find it in the three witches' possessions. Anyways though, that's sort of all the info I can give you guys on this movie. Totally up to you if you want to watch it. Just be warned, if you have kids in the room watching it with you, it might scar them. What I find really cool though is that Tim Burton actually worked on this movie, and you guys know, I love Tim Burton. It was actually before he was a filmmaker. It was when he was just an artist. So he was doing, I think, a lot of the character art for this film, but rumor has it that Tim Burton actually wanted to keep it an R-rated film. He wanted to keep it as scary, as violent, everything as possible, but Disney was like, you know what? We can't do that, Tim Burton. And there's also a rumor that they're coming out with a live-action version of Black Cauldron, so just get ready for that in the future. So let's continue with some films that scarred us as children from Disney. Thanks Disney for the great memories. I'm just kidding. Like literally 9 times out of 10, Disney has made the best movies ever. There's just like a handful that were a bit much. One of those movies is Bambi, which I'm sure you guys all know and love, or maybe just have a love-hate relationship with Bambi, and we all know why. We all know the scene, all right? We all know the scene in Bambi that just scarred our entire childhood. Wow, I'm like annoying myself with the voices I make. It's actually known as one of the most traumatizing scenes in cinematic history when it comes to Disney. That is a big deal. This movie came out in 1942, and the way it was advertised, it looked just like a happy animal movie that takes place in the forest, but when kids went to watch it, they were shocked to see a horrifying scene of Bambi's mother unfortunately dying. Spoiler alert? I mean, you have to know Bambi by now. If you don't, then I don't know what you're doing. It says this would be the first time Disney would present the idea of death and losing one's parent in a chilling yet tangible way that kids could understand. So the reason why it was so disturbing is because Disney had never done something so emotional and devastating before in a movie. And watching as a kid, a lot of kids don't know what loss is yet. I mean, some kids do, unfortunately, the way that they grew up, but majority of kids watching Bambi, they don't know what that feeling's like, they don't understand it yet. So to watch something so horrible on a Disney movie, it was traumatizing to a lot of kids. And the second time they ever did that was in Lion King, when obviously Simba's father falls off the cliff. From the wonderful Scar, thank you Scar. And I feel like those are the movies that we remember the most because they impacted us the most. The next movie that really scared kids all over the world is called The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and this movie came out in 1949. A lot of you guys may have never heard of this or watched this before, but I know growing up, my grandma always had this movie in her movie cabinet, and I watched it multiple times. It's actually considered a Halloween movie, and it's all about the Headless Horseman, which I always find just very intriguing, love that sort of thing. When I was a kid, yes, it did scare me, but it also was just awesome. Basically, when you're watching the movie, it warns the viewers to not go into any forests on Halloween night. So a lot of kids took that very literally and became actually afraid of forests, especially on Halloween. And what's interesting is that the horseman doesn't appear until like halfway towards the end of the movie. So the whole time you're in this suspense watching the movie, wondering when he was gonna appear, and then he shows up with like a jack-o'-lantern on his head, and it's just really awesome, and it's like one of Disney's really cool Halloween movies, but it is scary for children. Speaking about the woods, I love how I'm talking about the woods and there's like woods behind me. Yeah. The next film is called The Watcher in the Woods, which I have actually never seen this film before, but I've heard people talk about it and how disturbing it was for a Disney movie. When Disney first came out with this movie, they were trying to attract more of a teen audience rather than a child audience, which was one of the first times they ever tried to do that. It's a supernatural ghost story about a family that moves into an old English manor where the teen daughter discovers a ghostly secret. A creepy narrator warns that something is in the woods, reminding the viewer that this is no fairy tale. So the way this movie was presented tried to make it seem like it was real, like not just a movie, like it was real. Disney even had to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the film that said this film is not for children. Isn't that bizarre? I mean, you'd always just assume that any Disney movie is safe for like literally any age. The next film that went down in history as one of Disney's scariest films is called Something Wicked This Way Comes. The main character's name is literally Mr. Dark. So, the mysterious Mr. Dark brings his traveling carnival to the small town of Greentown, Illinois. There are these two boys in the movie that discover there's something wrong with the carnival because the carnival's true intent of being in this town is to collect people's souls. The film very much has an American Gothic vibe, creating a perfect Halloween story. And there's this scene that really freaks people out. If you've ever seen the movie, you might remember this horrifying scene. But there's a scene where he reveals his tattoos of the souls he's captured. It's like really messed up for a Disney movie. And the last film we're gonna talk about is called The Tower of Terror. Now, if this sounds familiar to you guys, it is because it is a ride at Walt Disney World. In fact, my sister and my dad went on this ride when we were in Florida like a long time ago, like 15 years ago. Disney went through this phase where they wanted to make movies based on the rides they had in their park. I don't know if they do this anymore, but back then they thought it was like a really cool idea. This movie was actually made for the Disney Channel, so it's slightly tame compared to other films, but Disney still made sure to make it pretty scary. And actually, the people who made this movie were the same people who made that show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I absolutely loved that show as a kid, so I kind of want to watch this movie now. I've never seen it before. Anyways though guys, those are all of the scary Disney films we're going to be talking about today. There are so many other ones I had on my list, but I have been recording for 30 minutes. Oh my goodness, I have to cut this down a lot. Comment down below any other Disney movies that you think I missed and should be on this list, but don't forget to enter to win this backdrop behind me, and I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!